FastCap Part 2. We've had so much amazing content with Paul Akers that we want to continue sharing some of the principles, ideas, theories that will change your life, will change your business. It'll blow your mind away. Can you really change a business 2 seconds a day?
Well, if you're shaving a couple seconds off of 50 or 60 processes a day, you got one hell of a company going on.
Right.
And that's what we got going on here. If the leader thinks it's all about him and he's always got to come up with the great ideas, that's going to kill everything for sure. And when we make it about that team environment, that's when you really win. The minute you say no, it's as lean, then you've lost. You've lost the lean game. If you come up with a better way, I want to know about it and we're going to implement it.
So never stop looking for lean
improvements. Never. And never resist somebody who wants to make an improvement. And more importantly, you better learn lean quick, because if you don't, the Chinese are going to eat you alive and spit you out and you won't even know it hit you. That awareness of what the competition is and how that competition is potentially going to affect us is very important. And I think that is something that makes us stronger here. We've been in business for 21 years. You know how many price increases we've had in 21 years?
How many? 3.
We're a huge company doing tens of millions of dollars in 40 countries. This company's rocking it, man. So I think another really interesting thing is you look at a company that, again, we're in 40 countries, tens of millions of dollars worth of business all over the world, 3,000 or 4,000 distributors worldwide, and the entire brainchild, the entire brain of the company is in this little office with only 6 people. 6 people manage this entire company. It's hard to even get your head around that. There's no marketing department, no sales department, no HR department, no maintenance department. There's nothing. And we have just a very few people managing the complexity of this company. And I mean, making 600-700 products.
Wow.
What is the most common thing that most companies do every year? They give a price increase, right? The cost of fuel's going up, cost of plastics going up, cost of natural gas is going up, everything's going up, taxes are going up, everything. We've been in business for 21 years. You know how many price increases we've had in 21 years?
How many? 3. In how many years?
21 years.
That's one increase per 7 years.
That's unbelievable. I've never heard of any company ever doing that.
That's amazing.
Because costs keep going down because we're more efficient. So now how loyal are our customers to us?
I would say super loyal.
Like incredible. Could you imagine going to Woods Coffee and the price never going up? You're still paying the price of a cup of coffee 7 years ago? You just go, this company's rocking it, man. So, and because of that, we have no marketing department, we have no sales department, we have no HR department, we have no financial department. We're a huge company doing tens of millions of dollars in 40 countries. We should have all that level of bureaucracy and overhead. But we look at all that, we say that's all waste. Wow. Why do we need all that? So we've eliminated all that nonsense.
What are the common pitfalls that a company, a person experiences in implementing lean manufacturing, whether in business or in life? Name 2 or 3.
The biggest one that comes to mind immediately is ego. You know, if the leader thinks it's all about him and he's always got to come up with the great ideas, that's going to kill everything for sure. If you focus on money, it's going to kill it. If you focus on always getting the accolade for yourself, you're going to kill it. Now, the smart leaders don't make it about money. They make it about improving the quality of their people's work. The smart leaders, every time their people come up with a great new idea, they're always saying, that's amazing. I never thought about that. That's cool. And then immediately the people think, well, I've got a cool boss. I mean, he actually is recognizing me. He actually feels that I have value. So ego is a big deal. And if you can check your ego and you create a culture where everyone checks your ego, where nobody's making it about whether or not it's their idea, they make it about whether or not it's a good idea and will benefit the customer and the organization. And when we make it about that team environment, that's when you really win.
Paul, tell us about how long it took you to change the culture of FastCap to a fun, lean culture. I mean, what were the biggest hurdles? And then what were the greatest benefits that you've experienced?
Well, it took about a year. The first year was very painful because we didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of wandering in the woods. But after a year, we started to see things were really starting to go well, and people started to be very engaged in what we were trying to accomplish because they knew we were serious about it, because we didn't just, it wasn't the flavor of the month. We didn't do it for 1 or 2 months and then kind of give up and go back to our old ways. But we absolutely persisted. And then they realized we're serious and this was not the flavor of the month. So after 1 year, we started to see the benefits. And the benefits were engagement of our people. Our people were solving the problems that were habitually haunting us prior to that. So, you know, you have problems in an organization, and that 1 year it's the same as the next year, the next, nothing really changes. So those habitual problems started to go away. And the problems we started encountering were different problems, but they weren't nearly as consequential because we were solving problems instead of ignoring them or pushing them or sweeping them under the carpet. So our problems came to the surface, we solved them, and that made work a lot more enjoyable. And obviously it's going to be more fun and people are going to be happier.
Tell us what it's like to work at FastCap.
It's fun.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, it's fun because every day is different and you always get to do something different that involves using your brain. So most companies, you come into work and your first week's kind of exciting because you're learning all the new stuff to go with the new company. And then after that, every week gets progressively duller and duller and your brain kind of checks, right?
Checks out, yeah.
Here, every day when you come in, you're asked to use your brain and not just do what you were told, but think of how to do it better. And when you think of how to do it better, you actually get to go implement that. And you might learn something new too when you're doing it, how to build something, how to run a machine, use a tool, etc. And so every day when you're doing things, it's not just do what you were told, it's think.
Right.
And it makes it fun.
So I think that most people don't realize how important it is to develop their people, because really the asset of the company is the people. We think it's the money in the bank and everything like that, but when people are thinking, they're driving costs down and quality up. And this makes a huge difference in the way an organization works and how effective it is. But even more important than that is when an individual goes outside of work because of this notion of growing people, and it changes the way they work outside of work. And that's really important. So like take Lyle, for instance. Lyle.
Yeah.
So how has what you've learned at FastCap affected what you do outside of FastCap?
Yeah, so the stuff that affects me at FastCap is thinking of processes, how I'm doing things. I'm always thinking of how I'm training people, interacting with people. Mm-hmm. And so when going outside of work, it affects my interactions with people of how am I efficiently having a conversation with somebody, or am I directing them in the right way? So as a youth group leader, I'm thinking, are all my papers in a row? Do I have everything in order for my kids? Am I wasting their time? Am I actually having processes in my preparation for things so that I'm set up for success, so that I can ultimately help my kids grow?
So to me, it sounds like you have a higher respect for people. Mm-hmm. And a higher respect for the resources that have been granted you, and you don't just take those lightly. You're thinking about that.
Well, it starts with the principle of when you're responsible for more things, you get responsible for more people.
And more things and more people.
Things and more people. So
Right.
if you start with the more things that you have in your handle,
Right.
it affects your relationships with the people.
This is the cutter that we use here in Cruising Gap. So we originally were using this machine to print and cut all of our custom cruising cap orders. Well, we realized that it was taking a lot of time to do so. So we added this new machine. So now all we have to do is print on this machine, take the rest of the printed material, add it to this machine, load it up, send it over, and it cuts beautifully. And we just broke this record. We have a 500 sheet order that would take us about 2 weeks, and we can get it done in about 3 days.
Can you really change a business 2 seconds a day? And how? Give us a real world example.
Let's take, for instance, let's take a 60-second process, making a cup of coffee, okay? And if every day you say to the barista, you say, all I want you to do is not save 2 seconds, save a half a second or a tenth of a second. And every day they come in and they evaluate where the cups are, where the lids are, how much water they use to rinse something out. and how many steps they take. And every day they just take maybe a second out of every process. At the end of 60 days, there's not much left, right? You're doing the whole process much more quickly. So, and then that's only one process. So a lean thinker understands that all these processes that we do every day are just terrible processes. And they're not satisfied, and they say, how can I just shave a couple seconds? Well, if you're shaving a couple seconds off of 50 or 60 processes a day, you got one hell of a company going on.
Right.
And that's what we got going on here. Millions of improvements being made nonstop.
My favorite improvement is this roller system that we added to our shipping table. We used to struggle a lot because it would smack in and not go anywhere. So we added those little rollers. So when I'm done shipping my box, I can just give it a push and it'll hit it and it'll just roll on down the belt.
Bye-bye. And the big one, push the little ones.
This is our Kanban cards. This is here in the graphics section where we print all of our labels. So when we come up to our printing station, we used to have to type in. So here's our Kanban for this. So I'd type out Kanban. Oh, well, look at that. There's several jobs that have Kanban in it. So we decided to do a barcode to make it so much easier that you didn't have to search. And there it is. That's the job that I'd have to print. We went a little bit further, so you didn't have to write in all these little labels or information. We made a printed version, so we just have to type it in and print it, and it's ready to go.
If you guys watch this episode and you don't implement one thing, watch it again. It'll change your life. It'll change your business.
Yeah,
Paul's a living example of that.
And it's so much fun. That's the thing that most people, it's like, who wouldn't want to run an organization like this, right?
Tell us how working for Paul has changed your life.
When I started at FastCap, I was very shy, very reserved, had really low self-esteem and confidence. And so after working here and having my own say and opinion valued, it gave me a lot more confidence to just vocalize my own views and opinions and feel like they were heard and I can make changes. And there's a lot of freedom here to make improvements and change things. So I've changed a lot in a lot of really great ways.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess the number one thing I would have Paul change is that and it's a good thing, so I don't know if I'd change it completely, but he's always trying to push what's the newest, best way to do something, right? And a lot of times that results in something where we're kind of stuck with 6 ways to do it and we don't actually have a standard. And it's all in aims of finding the best way to do it. But like when I communicate with Paul, I have to check WhatsApp, Voxer, text messages, and WeChat.
Okay.
I have to check them all 5 times a day because he can't decide which one's the best. Someday we'll decide and we'll have the very best one, but I think we create a lot of confusion trying to get there.
That's awesome, because this is a perfect example of figuring out how to avoid waste and be lean. So thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let me tell you what the real issue is. The real issue is he loves email like most people, and I'm kind of prying him out of the whole email thing. A customer's not paying, they don't want to pay for an executive salary. They don't want to pay me to sit at my desk. They want to pay for Skylar to make injection molded parts that they can put in the tools that he's making. That's what the value is. Skylar's adding value. I'm not adding value. So I realized that the real value was on the shop floor. And so I should spend all my time on the shop floor helping my people do their work more effectively and solving problems with them. That's not typical leadership. Leadership is get a nice big desk, get a nice office, get a window so people
Do not disturb sign.
So you do not disturb sign. You're talking on the phone, sit in a nice leather chair, all the BS, right? Well, I don't have any of that. You didn't see any of that. I'm always, when you walked in the door today, where was I?
You were with your employees.
I was with my employees on the shop floor, right?
You were engaging.
And you had to come get me away from them to do the interview, right?
And the only office I saw was your car.
Yeah, I know. So that's the whole point. So leaders don't realize what leadership really looks like, and it happens on the Gemba and on the shop floor.
A couple more questions as far as how lean manufacturing could translate to a lean personal life. Tell us about that.
Everything's a process. How you take care of your home, how you take care of your health, how you take care of your car, how you take care of your finances. Everything is subjected to being analyzed and saying, could there be a process improvement in the way I do that? So the most obvious one for me is I wrote a book called Lean Health. and I was 243 pounds, and today I'm 175. And that's a pretty dramatic shift. And basically what I did is I looked at the way I was nourishing myself every day, and I identified the value and the non-value. So it was of no value for me to be any processed foods. Every time I opened up a package and it had more than 2 ingredients on the back, it was probably not good quality. So that was a bad process. So I said, I'm going to quit opening packages, and I'm going to start eating fruits and vegetables and real food and fish, and not open packages. I quit drinking bad drinks and all the other stuff, right? No sodas, any of the other stuff. And lo and behold, every week I kept losing 1 pound, 1 pound, 1 pound, and I made this dramatic decrease to where I'm 59 years old and I did 2 Ironman, which is unheard of.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which is unheard of.
I think most of us are looking forward to getting personal a little bit and get to know you on that end. Are you still climbing 14ers?
Well, I haven't climbed one in a couple years, but I did Mount Kilimanjaro, which is 19,000, and Everest Base Camp 17,700, and I just haven't had time to do that. But I'm skiing like crazy, so I go up and down 12,000-foot mountains 10 times in a day in a ski run, and do all that stuff. But no, I haven't done any 14s lately.
You're staying pretty busy.
But I'm not afraid to do them. That would be easy for me.
I think you've done a lot more than to be scared by a 14,000 foot mountain. Tell us about some of the lean philosophy that you've implemented in trekking and summiting some of these mountains.
Well, less is more. So travel light and be very grateful. So number one is I don't want to take a lot of stuff with me. And most people try to take so much stuff with them. They have enough gear for every possible eventuality, every possible problem, and I don't think that way. I think less is more. So I try to lean out equipment-wise when I travel. I travel all over the world. I always take 1 suitcase and a backpack. It doesn't matter where I go, that's what I take. If I'm going skiing, I take 1 suitcase and a backpack. I just reduce everything down to the very minimum.
Carry on or check in?
Oh, always carry on, check-in. That would be insane because that's just waste. I'm sitting there waiting 20 minutes for the luggage to come out. But most people don't understand that, and I want to have control of my suitcase because if it gets lost, then I'm really screwed, right? So no, always carry on.
That's the challenge I have, Paul. Every time we travel, I'm trying to convince my wife how we can do a carry-on rather than check-in.
Well, I used to have all the gear. I used to have all the gear too, and now I do all my filming, everything on my phone. I used to take drones with me. I used to take Sony cameras. I used to take everything. I do everything right here. It's just so lean. I got 1 charging cable and this, and I'm set.
Out of all your outdoor interests, what's one that you absolutely can't live without?
Well, I love to ski a lot because I love the athleticism involved in it. But I also love to ride motorcycles and see a country on the back of a motorcycle because there's something about experiencing the wind in your face and not having a windshield in front of you. So I did 15 countries last year on a motorcycle: Lithuania, Latvia, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Croatia, Bosnia, Thailand, Japan. I could just go on and on. So every time I go into a country, I try to rent a motorcycle and just ride.
That's pretty cool.
That is an amazing experience.
Does that somehow contribute back to your business? And I mean, it must have.
Well, certainly it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have an aware CEO. It doesn't hurt to have a CEO that has seen and experienced what's going on all over the world. I mean, that's got to be some benefit to have that global perspective on the world.
Yeah, that's another point you mentioned. CEOs can either sit in the office, or they can travel the world.
And
bring all that back.
I've been in plants in Guatemala. I've been in plants in Australia. I've been in plants in Thailand. I've been in plants in Bhutan. I've been in manufacturing plants everywhere, all over the world, in Kazakhstan. So that awareness of what the competition is. And how that competition is potentially going to affect us is very important. And I think that is something that makes us stronger here.
All right, so for this best fence part, it has 4 nuts that go in here, and it can be kind of cumbersome to have to sit there and press them all in. So came up with this thing. You just take these nuts right here, and they sit in that little pocket, and then you put 2 up on top as well. And you put this piece in, and it does all 4.
So, Paul, you've traveled all over the world.
105 countries.
105. What's one place that you traveled to that made the biggest impact in your life? That might be a tough question. 105 is a lot of locations.
Well, without unequivocally, China. Unequivocally, I've been there 50 times. So it's the #1 place that people need to be aware of what's going on. So the Chinese are incredibly intelligent, and they have a work ethic like none other. And they're making us look like we don't know what we're doing in the United States. They've surpassed us, it seems like, in almost every regard. Their manufacturing prowess is over the top. They've created more high-speed trains than the entire world put together just in the last 10 years. They've interconnected over 50 major cities by high-speed trains that go over 250 miles an hour. They can build a high-rise in a year without something that would take us 10 years. Their freeway systems, their infrastructure systems, everything they do is at such a high level, it's almost hard to even get your head around.
Yeah.
And so the reason why that's impacted me is I realized that if Americans don't recognize the competition that's really out there, it's over. And we haven't got much time.
We got to wake up.
We got to wake up quick.
If you guys want to improve the bottom line of your business and learn something great, go to China.
Yeah. And more importantly, you better learn lean quick, because if you don't, the Chinese are going to eat you alive and spit you out, and you won't even know it hit you. So you take, for instance, these are our picking carts. We make it all. This is all our product. This is called Fast Pipe. We make everything. So just simple carts made out of pipe that are flexible. If we decide we don't want it, we take it apart, we use the fittings, we use the pipes. We didn't go to Rubbermaid and buy carts. We made it all, right? And we made this in our wood shop. We made the little boards in our wood shop. Everything is customized to the needs of our work. Everything is a part of a process and how we improve it. So here's a great big company called Milwaukee. They make this fantastic vacuum cleaner, right? But we made the stand because we had to be efficient. We had to be able to walk into it, right? We make the holder there. So look how cool this is. When you want to run the backpack, you just go like this, boom, and you're done, and you're working, and you're vacuuming, right? But no, Milwaukee doesn't have a stand like that. So what do you got to do? Struggle? You got to struggle with it. But we're saying, why wouldn't we struggle? So we made this really cool vacuum stand. And now people are buying this and going, wow, look at that cool. The charger, everything's set up, everything's a process. So you need a new battery, boom, it goes in. Everything's set.
I'm just trying to think of how to make this more lean.
Well, I'm sure there is a way.
Because it's wasting, what is it? Well, probably 60 seconds, 30 seconds to replace the battery.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a way.
There's gotta be a way.
And you can't be resistant to that, because the minute you say no, it's as lean, then you've lost. You've lost the lean game. If you come up with a better way, I want to know about it, and we're going to implement it.
So never stop looking for lean
improvements. Never. And never resist somebody who wants to make an improvement. That's an important thing. The leader's job is to do everything they can to facilitate the concept of continuous improvement. And the best way to kill it is to say, oh, we already tried that, it won't work.
It's as good as it gets.
No, we say, run the experiment, try it, let's see what happens.
I've learned a lot.
Okay, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Do you guys like what you hear? Comment below about how this theory of lean manufacturing can change your life, change your business. We want to hear from you. Subscribe, hit that bell so that you don't miss any videos from UpFlip. Thanks for watching. Voila! Paul, here we go.